My karate sensei once told me that pain is a wonderful teacher, and he's absolutely right. The fact of the matter is, in life, we all go through pain, lots of pain. And sometimes life can suck. Sometimes life's not fair. I get all that. But the question is, what are you going to do with that pain? What are you going to learn from it? Are you going to take that experience and figure out how that experience is going to make you a better person? If you're like me, you believe, like I do, that everything happens for a reason. Jessie Torres is joining me, and she's going to take us through this whole idea of learning from our pain. She's going to share her experiences growing up and in her adulthood that are unbelievable pain that she went through. And yet, what she did and how she helps people now deal with it, learn from it, and make them better is amazing. It's amazing. This is one you're going to want to share. Here we go. Hello, 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 and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and I'm your host. And we've got a lot of things to talk about today that will inspire you to follow in the footsteps of my guest today, Jessie Torres. And the whole idea, and this podcast episode, as well as all of them, are all about experiences. It's not about opinions. It's not about academics. It's not about theory. It's about real lived experiences and learning from other people and getting inspired by them because this podcast is called Finding Better, and we're all about helping folks find that better they want in their life. So let me just introduce you to Jessie here real quick. Jessie is a peak performance coach and a life strategist, and she's going to talk about this a little bit during our conversation. A pain alchemist. Okay, very cool stuff. So the whole idea is turning your pain, and everybody goes through pain. There's nobody on planet Earth that doesn't go through pain. I mean, even Jesus Christ went through pain.
A lot of
So,
pain.
but turning your pain into purpose, into your purpose. And one of her quotes is that if you don't look for the gift of your pain and trauma, you will only remember the pain. That's something to think about. We're going to talk about. Her pain became her power, and your pain can become your power too. And that's what we're going to talk about. It's about transformation. So, Jessie's journey has been one of sexual abuse with her father, having lost two brothers to murder, and an abusive 18-year marriage that left her completely apathetic and spiritually dead. Sounds pretty intense, but you know what? You may be going through some of this too, right? As someone who's lived with fear every day, she was driven, really driven to discover not only why she was experiencing all these bad things, but why she allowed them to happen in the first place. And here's the inspiring part. Jessie learned that the very moments that brought her to her knees were also the moments that shaped the strongest, most compassionate, most resilient parts of her. Isn't that cool? And she wants you to know that you don't have to be a victim of your story, right? You are the courageous soul who keeps getting back up. You're already a hero, right? So if Jessie can turn her pain into purpose, so can you. Jessie, welcome to Finding Better. Wow.
Thank you, John. Super excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
That is, I am so looking forward to learning from you. And so let's talk about what you do and what a pain alchemist does and why it's relevant to the folks who are listening.
Absolutely. Well, the word alchemy is a transmutation of base metals into like gold, right?
Hmm.
So if you think about that word, when you think about the pain we've endured, and to your point, we all have different trauma points. We could have had a great upbringing, we could have had great parents, but we might have experienced a bully at school. We might have experienced a teacher that wasn't kind, or just everyday life can trigger an unconscious belief that we
Hmm.
wrap an identity around. And so a lot of times people say, "Oh, I don't have trauma," and I'm like, "Well, the definition of trauma," because a lot of people think it's like a rape or something really big, which it
Yeah.
is, but it's also by definition for me is whatever the child made meaning of in the moment of the experience. So the minute
Yes.
you go to kindergarten, kid takes your lunchbox and eats your favorite snack your mom put in there. You go to school the next day a little bit more hypervigilant. You're holding onto your lunch pail a little tighter. You're
Right.
walking around that boy that took that child that took that lunchbox, right? So
Hmm.
start to develop unsafety. And from those little micro traumas, we start to develop what we now think life is. Oh, I have to protect my lunch pail, right? I have to be careful. It might get taken. And so little things like that, this is just an ordinary life.
Right.
Start
Right.
to condition, right, what we now have to protect against. And we start to build this heart armor, I call it, that we don't even realize we're building. And
What did
then
you call it? You called it
heart
heart
armor.
armor.
Mhm.
Interesting. Okay.
So armor around our hearts to protect,
Right.
right? Because when
Right.
we're children, we're innocent and we trust and we want to play and we want to connect. And when we start
Right.
to realize all these different moments, it starts to build a protective shield around our hearts so much that we now develop an identity around it. And now we think we are the hypervigilance versus the beauty of the innocence of the child. And I think our journey is coming back home to that innocence, to seeing the world through beauty versus hypervigilance. And so
That
a
is
pain alchemist is to take that pain and let's look at it differently. I get that you went through it. It doesn't make it right. This is not a condoning of what's happened to you. It's an understanding that if you believe, like I do, that everything happens for our highest and greatest good, even the suck, then there's something magnificent on the other side of our pain. Whether that's resilience, whether that's courage, whether that's the will to persevere. There are character building traits that were created in the depth of our pain that we aren't witness to because all we see is the pain.
And not only that, I mean, what you just said was beautiful. I mean, it's a rewindable moment,
Mm.
right? Because what I think you said was that, we're born pure and life screws us up. And, to no fault of a lot of people, my parents were great parents. My dad and I didn't get along, but, even the most perfect of parents might have a moment, even an unintended moment, where they cause trauma to their child,
Yep.
right? Just in the heat of an argument, saying something that they didn't mean to, that stuff sticks. So when people think of trauma, as I do, until you just redefined it for me or defined it for me,
Mhm.
we think about the big thing, right? We think about some of the things you went through, like sexual abuse or being raped or having something real PTSD, right?
Mhm.
And we think about those kinds of things. But and the way that you described it was that we come out pure, we're born pure. Life messes us up. We learn a few things.
Mhm.
We can learn from those, but the whole idea is to get us back to that purity that we were born with. Is that kind of what you said?
That's it. That's
That
it.
is so beautiful.
And we all have that divinity, right? It's
Yes.
like I was holding my friend's 6-day old little baby boy. His name was
Hmm.
Tom. And I'm looking at him and I'm looking at his little knuckles and I'm like, wow, just like divine perfection, right? 6 days old.
It is
And then
perfection.
I stopped and I thought, what makes us any different? Nothing except the belief. A belief that we've taken on based on our experiences. And it could be something as simple as a school teacher. Maybe you didn't do so great on a test, hands your paper back and says, you're going to have a rough life. Just that comment. Maybe the teacher had a bad
Yeah.
day. Maybe the teacher argued with their spouse, whatever, but that's what came out. But that injected like a microchip in your brain. Well, if my teacher thinks I'm going to have a rough life, I guess I'm going to have a rough life. And now your lenses are, I'm going to have a rough life.
Or you're not going to amount to anything,
Yeah.
right? You're not going to amount to anything. I mean, how many people have heard that and has had that stuck? And so that is really really remarkable because all of us have got this crap stuck in our. I mean, good stuff, but we also have really bad stuff stuck in our head.
A lot
And
of our
you said,
self-talk.
yeah, and one of the just quick statements that you said was one of the most powerful statements I've ever heard, I think. And that was what makes us as adults, as grown-ups, different from that little 6-day-old baby. And
Mhm.
you said it's our beliefs.
That's right.
It's our beliefs. And I never thought about it that way.
And these are beliefs that we take on in our unconscious conditioning, right?
Yes.
The child that received that test from the teacher didn't know they were wrapping a story around what that teacher,
Right.
or disappointment from a parent when you did something wrong, or you take a child, maybe the father's abusive to the mother and the mother's crying all the time, so the little boy acts out and becomes, does something funny and mom smiles. So in his mind, he anchors, oh, if I'm funny, mom's happy. She's not crying anymore. So he becomes the class clown. He becomes the jokester. He becomes the one that diverts any conversation with humor, right? And it's all because he learned as a little boy that that brings a smile to his mom's face. Now it's
The
what
reason, yeah, the reason why I'm laughing is because that was me.
was it?
My dad would get so pissed off at parent teacher conferences because the teachers would always say that I was a clown. And, to this day, I like to make people laugh.
Yeah.
It just, it's just how it is. And so,
There's
yeah,
something,
that
an
is
anchored moment when you were a child where maybe it was a stressful situation or maybe it was a dull situation, but you did something that made somebody laugh. That microchip got embedded. Oh, if I just make people laugh, it releases the tension in the room, or it takes away the stress, or it softens the blow, or
right,
something,
right.
right? And that's all, but we don't know because we're not putting a microscope on it. But as human beings, we are meaning making machines. We do that
Yeah,
in our
yeah,
unconscious conditioning. So the outcome of Fierce Grace and what I do with people is to bring the unconscious to consciousness. What did I create in my story based on what happened, my abuse or my abandonment or whatever it was? What did I as a child create a story around? For me, with my abuse with my father, I created the story that I was dirty, filthy, nobody would ever love me. That's just it. I'm damaged goods. Who's going to love me? I didn't
whoa,
know that I was creating that story, but that's the story I made about myself because I felt icky, right? And so I'm like, wow. So now I can look at it consciously. I used to condemn myself as a child. Like I grew up, I got smart, and I'm like, Jesse, as a 5-year-old, you could have done more. You could have fought him off. You could have kicked, you could have screamed, you could have poked him in the eye, right? Because now I'm all smart and I know better. And I used to beat myself up, blame myself. It's my fault. You could have done
yeah,
more. It's like I
yeah,
was a child. I trusted my father. You
yeah.
know what I mean? And so, but we do that to ourselves. And so now I look at all of it as this divine choreography. And I am in gratitude for my entire life experience. I know it seems crazy to be grateful, but if I get to be who I am today and I can serve people out of their suffering, then so be it. Maybe my contract with God was that I needed some adversity so that I can feel the depths of shame, so that I can feel the depths of loss, so that I can understand you better, so that I can know when somebody's in the deep throes of shame and I can help them out. The outcome here is to recognize that no matter what happened to you, and I know some of you are suffering and some of you are saying, yeah, Jesse, that's good for you, but you don't know my story. I get it. But there is another side. And if you're listening to this podcast, then there's a beauty to be had. There's a beautiful soul that got back up no matter how many times they were knocked down.
And I would also add to that, if you're listening for a reason.
Mhm.
If you're one like us, we believe there are no accidents,
That's right.
right? And I'll tell you, this is, you know, I talk to so many people, and you know, the other thing that we've got going against us is our natural humanity, our natural instincts, because we are still living with the instincts of fight and flight,
Mhm.
right? Running away from what always people talk about, the saber-tooth tiger, right? We don't have I these days I'm not that concerned about being eaten by a grizzly bear. It's just not part of what I do. But still, I keep track of that. My instant reaction when
Mhm.
things happen is what do I need to do? What's happening? A lot of times my natural instinct will be to put up those barriers, right? You talked about the heart shield,
Mhm.
kind of like I got to protect myself kind of thing.
Mhm.
So is that something that's I mean, that's a beautiful part of who we are, but when it comes to getting through to the heart and re kind of igniting the heart, if you will, is that something that you think is kind of working against us
So
as we as natural
yes
people?
and no. So
No? Okay.
yes and no. So the armor that we've built around our heart that has come from an unconscious knowing, right? So the little boy with his lunchbox, hypervigilance, people are mean. Why are they da da da? That's a piece of armor that was placed around your heart based on what happened to you. So the outcome is to drop all of that armor and come back to the purity of the soul, like you are divine perfection. And yes, there is darkness. Yes, there is people that are in so much pain that they wound you or they hurt you. So the outcome is to drop the armor that was placed in our unconscious conditioning, get back to the purity of who we are, and then consciously armor up to protect ourselves from
Got
people
it.
that might be cruel, right? Or from people that might take advantage. But now it's done from a conscious awareness of like, oh, let me do my checks and balances, not from a wound that says, this situation looked like that situation, therefore I'm ready for a fight, because it might not be true. It's just the child acting up saying, this feels like that, don't do it, right? Remember last time you tried to go for that big success and you didn't make it and we failed? Don't do that again. Don't go for that next big bonus or don't go for that next big goal because what if it happens again? And so that's the fear speaking. That's an armored part that was placed because of what happened, not by choice, right? So we do have to have a sense of responsibility to protect ourselves from cruelty. But the way you do that and the way you see it when you're actually intentionally putting a piece of armor to protect yourself, you're now able to receive somebody's unkindness as a reflection of their wound, not your wound,
Hmm.
right? So now if I, let's say, called you an ugly fat black woman, you're an ugly fat black woman, John, right?
What?
Yeah, right. You're
Yeah, I'm
confused.
like,
You're just
huh?
like, are you offended?
Yeah.
Are you're not
Do you
offended
see
because
me? Yeah,
it's simply not true.
right.
But if I said, you know what, you're gonna suck at this podcast, it's just not gonna go anywhere.
Oh, thank
You'd
you
be like,
very much.
what the heck, right?
Yeah.
So again, it's like, so we,
Yeah,
when somebody does something unkind, it's a reflection of what they're having to eat every day. It doesn't mean it's true for you. But oftentimes when we'll go in as women, like, we'll go out of 10 people, 9 say, oh my God, I love that dress on you. That looks amazing.
that's
Now,
right.
one person's like, oh, I don't know about that color on you. We run to the bathroom to check and see,
Yeah,
what, why
exactly.
doesn't she like it, right?
And change
9
your
of them
dress.
said that was
Yeah,
great, but that
yeah,
one, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
what it's meant to build resilience when we put armor intentionally around our hearts to protect ourselves so that when somebody does attack, it doesn't penetrate, it stops.
Right,
It's just like,
right.
wow, if you think I'm an ugly fat black woman, you must have a lot of pain inside you to say something like that. Because I believe that we are love innately. Love is who we
Hmm.
are. And
Hmm.
when we show up in unkindness, it's because we're hurting on some level. There's a self-judgment going on. In order for us to judge others, we got to be judging ourselves. So when someone's cruel, it doesn't mean it feels good, but I don't let it penetrate me to the point of like, oh no, I must be the thing they just called me.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
just true. So that's the outcome. It's drop the armor that was placed without your knowing and put up armor with intention, with consciousness to protect yourself so that you can go out in the world and be love even when others aren't ready to receive your love.
That is amazing. I laughed when you said you're going to suck at this podcast, right? I laughed because in some ways I do, right? But now I'm just like, well, I've done this 150 times. It doesn't matter. I mean, people enjoy listening to my guests, and but you know what? If someone had said that 2 weeks before I started my podcast, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I would have had a very different reaction.
Right.
It would have been
But see how it
it,
is though? We're so vulnerable.
Yeah, totally.
Have our dreams and
Totally.
our desires, and then somebody comes in and says something like that, and you're like, why would they say that? Like, gosh, I'm really doing my best. And we get into our head about it. And the fact
Exactly.
that you're doing this, John, like I commend you and I honor you because you're bringing awareness, you're bringing these conversations to the public. I think it's amazing. There is no failure. One
Yeah.
human
Yeah,
being
that's
listening to
right.
this podcast, you've already won, John. You've already won. But
Thank
like to
you.
your point beforehand, we're just like, oh no, what if it does mess up? What if nobody listens, right? And we get into our heads. And so the outcome to come back to that purity, when you see yourself, let's say through the lenses of God or whatever you believe, right? It's like I always tell my kids when they're going through their things, or I always say, if you could just see yourself through my lenses, you would see
Yeah.
how amazing you are.
Yeah.
I had this moment with God, and it literally said, do you know why you say that to your kids? And I'm like, no, I don't, it's like God speaking, right? And then
Yeah.
it's like, because that's me talking to you. I'm like, oh, if I could see myself through God's lenses, like there's no wrong, right? So when you fall in love with yourself, you see humanity through a different set of lenses. Now you can see wounding, attacking. You can see when people act up, and you have a sense of compassion and empathy. It doesn't mean I want to be on the other end of their bullseye.
Right.
It doesn't land to the point that it takes me out because I already know my divinity.
It's funny because my wife hears me say this all the time. When we come across unpleasant people or people who are unkind or assholes,
Hmm.
right? Let's just say it. I always say, you know what? Gosh, that guy must have something going on. I mean, he must have something going on.
Yeah.
And what I heard you say is that probably is true, right?
Yeah. If
And
we're love innately and somebody's cruel, they have
yeah,
to eat that. Like
they've got
if
something
they
going
are
on.
wanting to put something cruel onto you, it's got to live in them already. So the
Yeah.
meaner somebody is, the more pain I know they're in. Again, doesn't
So,
make it right, but it at least doesn't land with me in a way that takes me out.
so let's talk about something else you said a little bit earlier.
Mhm.
That after all you went through, after all the pain in your journey, you're grateful for it, right? Um, to me, gratitude is massively powerful.
Mhm.
Being able to live with gratitude. I give thanks every morning I wake up and every night I go to bed. because
Good.
because I woke up and I have a chance to go to bed. So,
Exactly.
you know, and so talk about that. Talk about how you got to that point. After all you went through, how does a person get to gratitude?
It's been a journey. I think um, I would say that when my older brother was murdered, because you mentioned both my brothers, and what you didn't say is that they were murdered 30 years apart. So it wasn't like they were both murdered at the same time. When my little brother was 15 is when my older brother was killed. And when that happened, I was still in my marriage and I was raised Catholic, Christian at the time. Now I consider myself more spiritual than I do religious, but at the time, I was like, how could this be happening? It was such a shock and it was such a stupid reason. And it was just like, no, this happens on TV. It doesn't happen to me. Like,
Right.
so I was like, what if there's no God? What if there's nothing? What if we just get buried 6 feet under with worms crawling out of our eye holes? That's my attitude. And I'm like, and if God, you do exist, I hate you for taking my brother. And that's where my energy was. And I was so devastated, right? And so in this moment where I was cathartically grieving and crying, it's like my brother showed himself to me. Like I saw him standing there all in white, and then what looked like other people. It's hard to tell, it's fuzzy, but all he did was gesture with his hand and he said, Jess, everything is as it's supposed to be. Now, at the time, I did not know what it meant, but I know that it brought me calm. I knew that he was okay. And then it was then my journey to find my own spiritual connection. Now, fast forward, now my outcome in my own therapy and my own healing has always been how do I help people? And even when I was going to therapy, I told my therapist, I'm like, I want to do what you do, but that's a lot of school and that's a lot of time, and I don't know if I could do that. And she said, well, why don't you become a coach? And back then I was like, soccer coach? What are you talking about? Like coaching wasn't as big as it is now. And at this stage, I had gone through my divorce, um, which being apathetic and wanting to die, I only didn't take my life because of my children, but I was
Wow.
somebody would blow the red light so I could just be done. Because if this is life, then I don't want to be here. Um, and it was an act of kindness that shifted everything for me. These people will never know who they woke up. But in the moment of their kindness, it short-circuited me. I was like, what are you guys giving me this gift for? Like, I don't understand. But I knew that something, whatever spark was left in me, ignited in that moment. And I couldn't wait for that. It was a Saturday class I was taking. And it gave me the courage. I was like, I don't know what this feeling is, but if this feeling's available, then life is worth living. That's the power of kindness. Right? So now became the unfolding. Like you said, now I'm just like, okay, if that gave me the courage to get out of my situation, I need to understand. Why did my father do what he did? Why did my mother ignore me when I tried to tell her? Why did my husband do what he did? And why did I allow it? And I went on an obsession, if you will, to understand human beings. Why do we do the things we do? Why I first learned what narcissism was. This is back in 2003, right? And I was like, I had compassion. There's a beautiful book. Oh my gosh, I can't remember the author, but he wrote the book, The Road Less Traveled.
Oh, and I know the
Cut,
book. I don't
cut,
remember the
cut, cut.
author. Yeah.
Stop it. But he wrote another book, and it's called The People of the Lie: Understanding Human Evil. I read that book. I don't know how I got my hands on it, but I understood why my husband behaved the way he did. I understood what narcissism is. I understood the hurt caged animal that loved you your whole life and now will bite you if you try to touch it. And that was kind of how it described it. So as I went on my obsession to understand, all I wanted to do was help others understand too. And so if I had to go through what I went through to be in a state where I get to serve people, then I'm grateful. I was even able to tell my father before he died, 2 weeks shy of his death, um, you know, he was in and out of dementia and he had leukemia. And I happened to be alone with him at this one stage about 2 weeks before he passed. And he was lucid. And he said to me, Jessie, I wish I could have been the father you deserved. And without hesitation in that moment, I said, Dad, you were perfect. You were exactly who I needed you to be so I could be who I am today. And I know I could see the cheeks soften, and I could tell that he received that and he could die in peace. And I feel that way. It doesn't mean I condone it. It doesn't mean I agree with what was done. I'm grateful for my husband too. It's just because we don't know light without dark. And if I can go to the depth of darkness and still find light, so can you. So can everybody that's listening. And to put a period on the end of this, when my little brother was killed 2 years ago, I was like, what the flip, God? I already checked that box. I already lost a brother.
Yeah.
How could
Been
this
there, done
happen
that. Yeah.
again? Right? And I'm like, if both my brothers are meant to be taken, then what do you want with me? And the answer was clear. And he said, and I'm here to teach people how to find light in the darkest moment, right? That's my purpose. He said, you need to eat your own medicine and you need to find the light right now. And I was like, oh, and it was like one of those answers you don't like. I wish the answer
Yeah.
was different. But in my deepest depth of grief and sorrow, I can feel that the depth of my sorrow was equivalent to the depth of my love. I loved that hard that I hurt this bad. I was able to see his daughters, three of the oldest ones who had not grown up together, they're all different mothers, bond at the loss of their father like they grew up together. I was able to see people post on my brother's Instagram saying how he changed their lives. I saw my family show up in ways I'd never seen before. So there was always beauty to be found. But if I only focus on the loss and I'm arguing, this shouldn't have happened, then I'm arguing with the reality that it did. And if I do that, I will suffer.
You
That's why I
know,
have to find the gift in the pain.
yeah, that level of gratitude is really, really hard to be able to find and first discover and to live, right? Not only live with, but to live. And uh, at the same time, every once in a while, I'll ask myself if I have any regrets. And of course, there are things I wish I did differently, but I do not have any regrets because everything that has happened in my life has led to this moment. Every choice that I made, every decision that I made, and every one of us has made has lived has brought us to this moment. And the question that you faced was, okay, as bad as it was and as sucky as it was, what am I going to do with it now? Right? What am I going to do with it?
Mhm.
And to hear that you came to the decision that I'm going to help others with it. I'm going to take my pain and my experiences, and I'm going to help other people um, get through it. And to not only get through it, but to build new shields,
Mhm.
right? So that they're able to manage and understand what's happening to them. And yeah, and to a certain extent, control is a myth, but at least to at least control a little bit about what comes in, just um, by understanding what's happening, right?
Well, I think the point you're bringing up, which is a very powerful one, is that we don't realize we have a choice, right? It's like pain
Yes.
is a part of life, but suffering is optional, right? It's around the
Ooh,
storm.
whoa, 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 whoa. You said pain is a part of life, but suffering is optional because it's that choice,
That's right.
right? Because you're choosing to suffer. You don't have to suffer. Wow,
Yeah.
you're
We
right.
don't
You're
realize
right.
it. And so, but people
Yeah.
will say, but you don't understand. My brother shouldn't have been killed. He was doing great. He was all these things. It's just like, I get that. You don't like that that happened. I don't like that it happened. Do I wish my brother was here every freaking single day? Both of them. But it's the reality. And the truth is, I don't know their contract with God. Sometimes people not only affect us in life, but also affect us in the loss of them. Think about, you know who John Walsh is.
Hmm. Yep. Adam.
Yeah, he wrote he did America's Most Wanted. How many people did he save because he was able to find these people that had committed
Oh my
heinous
gosh.
crimes? And he did it at the heels of the loss of his son Adam,
Yep.
right? So maybe Adam's contract with God was that he was going to come here for 6 short years to impact John because he was the one that was going to save the many. Because all Adam did was go back home. He came
Yeah.
here for 6 short years to impact John so John can save the many. Again, we don't know. I look at my older brother's death, and there was over 300 people at his funeral that I didn't know whose lives he had touched. So how will his death touch them? I don't know. My older brother was killed because he was dating a girl for a month who was previously engaged. And this guy wanted her back. And he was calling her over and over again saying, I want you back. And she's like, no, I found somebody better than you. He's better in bed. He smells better than
Oh,
you.
oh God.
Pretty much loaded the gun. Right. And so my brother didn't know. Here's this guy has his hood up on his truck. My brother comes out of work. He's like, hey, can you give me a ride? I started
Oh
work.
no.
And this is all came out in testimony. We had a week-long trial. And the manager that came out with my brother looked at my brother. My brother just shrugged his shoulders like, oh, I'll give him a ride. Took him 3 blocks up the street and shot him. By the time that the manager got to the freeway, he felt funny about the whole thing. He drove back to the store. By the time he got back to the parking lot, the guy's truck was gone. So senseless. But if I'm going to believe in the divine order of everything, and I have a belief that my brother Oscar had a contract with God that I'm not aware of, and that the impact of his short 29 years on this planet impacted me so much. How does his death impact me? Well, guess what? I was having different conversations with my sons. I was telling them, don't get involved with someone if you don't know that they're completely detached and they're free of a prior engagement. Don't mess with people's emotions, mess with people's emotions. They do crazy things. I mean, I had conversations that I might not have had. Did I save my sons' lives? Maybe. I don't know. But what I do know is that I'm now having a conversation with them that I might not have had had I not had that happen with my brother.
And you're having a conversation with me right now that you might not have had.
That's
In
right.
fact, you wouldn't have had. We wouldn't be having this right now. I
Exactly.
mean, the chances are teeny, teeny,
But that's
tiny,
the
but
choice point.
yeah,
I get
those
to
are choice
choose
points.
to
That's
find the
right.
good because society will show us what's wrong, not what's right. But both are
Exactly.
always available. Both are
Uh,
always available.
you know, I say this all the time. I say that your life is a product of the decisions and choices that you've made up until now. And if you don't believe that, check this out. That the that your life in the future, the product of your life in the future is going to be the product of decisions and choices you make from now on. Nobody disagrees with the latter part, right? And but it is. You can choose to see the good. You can choose to see the bad. You can choose to suffer. You can choose not to suffer,
Mhm.
right? You can choose to. Anyway, I always tell people, I tell my kids all the time, there is no failure if you learn something from it,
Right.
you know? And
Just feedback, not failure.
yeah, yeah, it's just a lesson.
Well,
It
and
just
the
makes you
outcome
better.
when we talk about choice, so when I work with people, the outcome is to bring you back to absolute sovereignty. We don't realize we're in control, right? We're in control of where we take, like I just traveled from Austin to California, okay, with a U-Haul trailer in my car. And
Okay.
I got not one, but two flat tires on the trailer that
Oh,
I rented. It
bummer.
put me back 10 hours because I'm literally in nowhere land in the middle of Arizona,
Be-
115-degree weather, okay, with two dogs in the back.
There is nothing. I mean, there is a whole lot of nothing in Texas.
Exactly. So guess
Yeah.
I had to wait 4 hours for a U-Haul because they sent the tire guy initially. He comes out. It was pretty quick. I was like, okay, this is not bad. He comes in, he takes the tire off, and he's like, oh wait, this is a 30 freaking year old trailer. This rim has 6 lug nuts. I have one with 5. It won't work. We don't carry those rims anymore. Fabulous, right? So now I got to wait 4 hours for the next one. They fix it. My instinct said we should probably change both if it's a 30-year-old trailer. But I looked at it, tow truck driver looked at it. No, that one looks fine. Hour and a half later, that one blows out. So now we're having a conversation, me and my partner, and we're like, okay, so maybe God in the universe is protecting us from an accident that was going to happen down the road, needed us to pause. Maybe, well, I'll
Don't
have a
know.
conversation with my daughter when she goes to rent a trailer, and I'm going to say, make sure you check the tires, ask how old the trailer is, make sure, right? Because we're in 115-degree weather with two dogs in the back, like the pavement is hot. These tires didn't just go flat, they shredded. So it could have been really bad. Like
Yeah.
even the
Yeah.
first one, I was like, thank God it didn't happen on the highway. Then the second one happened on the highway, but I had a shoulder. Another mile down the road, they were doing construction. There was no shoulder to pull over. I would have been in the middle of the highway. So
Mm,
at the end of the day, we're in a frustrating situation. We've been pushed back. We're sitting in a gas station with two dogs waiting for hours. We could be mad. We could be frustrated. We have justification. All these reasons are
absolutely.
justified in it. But we're going to wait no matter what. We could wait angry and pissed off and frustrated, or we can find the gift. And I don't know, maybe I'll save my daughter's life by saying, I don't know, but I choose to believe that if there is a divine power, that it's working for me, not to me. And if it's
Yep.
working for me, I'm going to look for the gift and I'm
You
going
know,
to apply.
when you talk about choice and you talk about contracts with God, everybody's got their own contract. Everybody has got their own contract. Now, we don't know what that contract is until we're done,
Mhm.
right? And we go home. Um, and the whole idea for me, and I tell my friends this, that one day when we go home, somebody up there is going to say, "Okay, what do you want to know?" and, well, and we're gonna get to learn everything about
Right.
everything,
That's
right?
right.
But we're also gonna be have the opportunity to look back, look back on the roads that we traveled, and hopefully it's not strewn with carcasses and damage. But I mean, and so I one of the things I tell my kids is live a good life, because one of these days you're not gonna have anything else but to look back on it and give yourself
It's
good
like I just
memories.
told my mom that actually this morning. So she's had a lot happen to her, you know. Obviously my father, and then she's lost two sons. I mean, I've lost two brothers. I cannot imagine what it's like to lose two
Mm.
sons. So she's had a lot of trauma, but she sees through victim lenses. And she says, I'm like, Mom, she's got medical bills. All these bills, look what happened. She's like bawling. I'm like, Mom, you're acting like someone's stabbing you in the heart. Like, it's money. We'll pay the bills. You know what I mean? She's like, no, but it's happening to me. And this is her perception. I'm like, Mom, I just want you to have peace. She goes, well, when peace comes, I will welcome it. And I'm like, no, peace isn't coming. It's a choice.
Peace is a choice.
It's
That's right.
you have to desire it. You have to choose to be in peace no matter how many freaking bills come, no matter how many things are thrown your way. Because you know what'll happen? The universe will stop testing. It'll stop poking at you. Like, like, are you going to trust me? My mom's still a devout Catholic. I'm like, think about it. What would Jesus say to you right now about forgiveness? Like, you hold on to unforgiveness and it hurts you. And it hurts me to watch you. She gets
What did
upset.
your
I'm not, because I've forgiven my father. But
and
you
what
are
happened?
angry with him.
What happened with your mom?
What
As
happened?
you told her that, as you told her that, as
She
you
gets
had that
frustrated
conversation.
because she knows I'm right.
Okay.
Right. But she goes, but it's hard. Right. And I'm
It's
like,
very hard.
it's simple, not always easy,
Yep.
but
Yep.
the answer is right there. And it is a
Yep.
choice. And
I
she'll say,
told
well, 85 years I've lived this way. I get it.
and you've been wrong the whole time.
I said, I get it, but you didn't know.
Yeah,
Now you know.
now you know.
Now you know it's a choice. So I get it's a habit now. I get you've done this your whole life, but you're choosing. Just know that.
There's two things I want to close with. First of all, is a statement, and that statement is, folks, happiness isn't out there. Happy, stop searching for happiness out there. It's not out there. It's right here.
Mhm.
It's right here.
And it's a
And it's all about choices. It's all about what Jesse and I have been talking about, right? You can choose to see the evil. You can choose to see the bad. You can choose to accept all the bullshit that's bombarding us. I call them messages of inadequacy, and you can let them in, or you can just say, you know what? I'm keeping that shit out of my life. It's your choice, right? And it's all right here. The thing I'd like to close with, and I absolutely want to have you back if you want to come back,
absolutely.
if you'd be willing to come back. Um, you said, it was interesting because this is what I wanted to close with from the very beginning. Um, and sometimes this can be a tough conversation to have, but I know it's not, because you just said what I was concerned about, and that is you forgave your dad.
Mhm.
The forgiveness part of it. Will you talk about that for a moment?
Absolutely. Forgiveness, I have a four-step protocol for forgiveness because I believe true forgiveness comes when you find the gift in the pain, right? And remember,
Sure.
oftentimes people think forgiveness is letting the other person off the hook. It has nothing to do
No.
with that.
Right.
Forgiveness is for you, right? Forgiveness is for you to release whatever you're shoulding, right? You shouldn't have done this. I didn't deserve blah, blah, blah. You shouldn't. Like it happened. It's not condoning the behavior, but unforgiveness rots inside you. Like I had a client, he was about 400 pounds. And he says, you know what? I don't need to forgive my mom. She actually lives 2 blocks down the street from me. I drive by there every day. I do not have a need to see her. I don't want to see her. I don't care. That is not forgiveness. He was wearing his unforgiveness. And I had rapport with him enough to say that. And so, one of the ways that we actually truly forgive, it's not about not caring, it's about finding the gift. When you're able to go back into the thing that you think you need to forgive, right? Because sometimes the hardest thing to do is forgive the person that never gave you the apology,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
If you go back to whatever they did to you and you can find the beauty of who you get to be because of that pain, and you find the gift. Oh, that happened because when I was building traps to warn me when my father was coming in my room, I was actually building resilience. I was actually building resourcefulness. I was actually building creativity. Oh, I didn't know I was going to need that when I went through my divorce because it was ugly. But here I am as a little girl building these character traits that often comes from adversity,
Yeah.
right? We find we
Yeah.
don't know what we've got sometimes until our knees hit the floor, right? So forgiveness, true forgiveness comes on the other side of you finding the gift, being grateful, and then letting it go. Because I couldn't know shame the way I know shame without what happened with my father.
Yeah.
I could read about it, but reading how to climb Mount Everest and actually climbing it are two different things.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
So
Totally.
if I scripted my whole journey and I thought, if I could just rewrite my story, I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be me.
Yeah. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. It's it's the old making lemonade out of lemons, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's a life story. And but I mean, there you and I talked about so many different things. And folks, if you just take one of the things that we talked about, whether it be gratitude or whether it be finding purpose in your pain, whether it be taking your pain and analyzing it, whatever you're experiencing right now, what is the gift of that pain? I mean, that's what a beautiful gift you've just given us, Jesse, right? There's a gift in there somewhere. And a good friend of mine once told me on the topic of forgiveness that forgiveness is a greater miracle than the parting of the Red Sea.
Mm.
And in a lot of ways, it is when it comes to personal relationships and it comes to just relieving yourself of the burden You were talking about how forgiveness is not about them, it's about you, right? And just giving that burden back and saying, I'm not going to carry this anymore, right? I mean, there really is a lot to it. And but the coolest thing, Jesse, about this conversation and about you is that through it all, you said that you're not so much a religious person, but you consider yourself more of a spiritual one.
Mhm.
You haven't lost your faith.
It's deepened.
You haven't lost your faith, and uh, that's powerful. This has been an amazing conversation,
Thank you.
and and any last comment or any last comment that you'd like to share?
Yes, actually, for your audience, one, I have a gift for them.
Okay.
It can be in your show notes. It's I call it the 10-step guide to freedom. And no matter what your situation, you can take steps right now to get out of it or to find a solution. Okay. I get it. Like back when I was in my situation, I did not believe there was a way out. I thought death was the only way, but it's not the case. So I made this 10-step guide because I want you to know that you have power. There are people that care. You are not alone, only if you choose to be. There's a lot of people that care, that want to support, that there are steps you can take. So there's that. And in closing, every part of your adversity, if we pray to God and we say, God, give me strength, He doesn't give us strength. He gives us opportunities to be strong.
Yep.
He doesn't give us courage. He gives us opportunities to be courageous. So every part of the adversity that you've experienced, there's another story. right? There's the resilience, there's the perseverance, there's the tenacity, there's the drive, there's determination. All of those character traits, think about it. You have them because you've gone through stuff. I know you have. You have that. What character traits does it take to meet your goal, your dream, your next level? What does it take? Oh, determination, resilience, courage. Oh my God, you have that because of what you went through. So if God and the universe had your back, what if every bit of adversity was there for you because there was a seed planted of unborn opportunity you didn't know to grab?
And now you know.
Now you know.
And now you know. And wow, what a powerful, powerful message. You know, I have to laugh because when he said, God give me courage, he doesn't give you courage, he gives you opportunities to be courageous. That's another way of saying, folks, make sure you phrase your questions properly and be careful what you ask for because your prayers are going to be answered.
Yes, one way or the other.
That's right. All right. So with that, oh my gosh, Jesse, thank you so much. I can't think of a, you know, I have had tears in my eyes 90% of this conversation. That's never happened to me. And boy, you've just given us all such a wonderful gift. Jesse, I love you. God bless you. Thank you for joining me. Everybody, please share this. Please share this. Okay? There's somebody out there you know that needs to hear this. I really do. And listen to it again. Because, you listen to it again, you're going to hear different messages. And it is so, so cool. So, with that, everybody, information is in the show notes. 10 Steps to Freedom. And pick it up. Pick it up. And Jesse's other information is in the show notes. I love you. God bless you. Thank you for joining us. And here's
Thank
to
you for
making
having
great
me.
choices. Yeah, be
Thanks.
happy. Choose to be happy. Okay, bye.